All right, give me just a second here. All right, so what we're going to look at today is what we call scarcity and factors of production. This is kind of the intro to the whole class. This kind of idea of scarcity is kind of what we're going to be um, talking about. Scarcity of money, goods, just kind of everything. Factors of production is kind of just the basic things needed to produce goods and services. So overall definition of economics. Okay, all it is the study of how people seek to satisfy needs and wants by making choices. Okay, typically it comes down to doing what's best for you as an individual. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's being selfish. What it means is that you're basically deciding based on your own benefit what's going to be the best for you. That could be individually. It could be as you're older and you have people depending on you. Going to work to get a paycheck so you can pay for your house or something so your family has somewhere to live, things like that. So just because we see that term best for you, just know that doesn't necessarily mean that someone is being selfish in this. All right, so just a couple of basic definitions here: microeconomics versus macro. Micro study of how individuals and firms deal with scarcity. That's a little bit more individualism. Macroeconomics deals with kind of society as a whole, or our entire economy. That's more what we'll look at here in this class. But we will have some micro stuff here at the beginning. Um, as part of kind of the first little section, first unit that we cover, there will be some micro stuff in there. Again, we're mainly looking at the macro side of it, kind of the how society, how our government, how the economy as a whole deals with this idea of scarcity. So needs versus wants. Okay. So we basically break down the things that we would like to have into kind of two categories: needs and wants. Needs are pretty simple, just things that are basic necessities for survival. So everybody pretty much has the same needs and want, or same needs, not wants. So you think of like food, water, shelter, clothing, education, access to healthcare, um, social interaction, sanitation. All of those things are kind of basic necessities, clothing that everybody in the world has. And if we're missing any two of those or three of those, you're kind of seen as that's kind of what they call like absolute poverty. If you're lacking in two to three of those items, which we obviously see around the world, we even see that here in the United States. Not as prevalent here, but um, those are basic needs. Like I said, clothing, food, water, shelter, education, access to health care, um, sanitation systems. We don't want just raw sewage running down the street, things like that. So everybody around the world pretty much has those. If we look at wants are kind of unlimited. They're totally different depending on the person. Um, if we break it down, individuals, we're all going to have different wants. We all kind of have the same needs, but we're definitely going to all have those different wants. Um, you know, Something that you would like to have, but you don't have to have it to survive. Somebody like me, like I would love to buy a whole new set of golf clubs, but I got a couple twins at home that are kind of making that difficult right now, and the wife does not want me to spend the money on it. Okay, that's something that y'all would probably not spend your money on. So it just kind of depends. You might want something. Everything's different, so don't think it's got to be. Everybody's got the same, but we have all these needs and wants. Okay, and that leads us to our main problem here: scarcity. Okay, How do we solve this problem? That's basically what the entire universe of economics is about, of solving this problem of scarcity, where we have all these wants and needs. We have almost 8 billion people on earth, and all these wants and needs, and everybody has to have these things or wants these things, and we only have so many resources. We hear about it all the time. We only have one planet, to make the planet last. We only have so many resources out there to provide all of these wants and needs, for people. Um, think of natural resources, things like that. We think of, well, water. There's plenty of water in the world, clean water. But you think back, us just 5-6 years ago, that drought we were in. We came very close to running out of clean water. The lakes were below 20%. You know, um, so it's not something. It's a lot of things we take for granted, but how do we solve that problem? How do we get everybody their needs and wants while at the same time doing that with um, a limited amount of resources? It's kind of like, how do you get all the things you want in your budget, but you only make a certain amount of money? Okay, and there's no perfect way to do it, but we do our best to try and solve that problem. Okay, so goods and services, your needs and wants kind of break down into what they call goods or services. Goods are pretty simple. They're basically items that you can buy, supplied by producers and used by consumers. So you go to the store, you buy something, you're a consumer. You're buying that product from a supplier, a producer. It's a physical object. You go buy some new shoes, there you go. Okay, good. Super, super easy to understand that. All right. So services, kind of the same thing. It's just something that someone's doing for you, and usually you're going to pay a fee. Okay. You go to the dentist, like the picture. Okay. You're paying a service. You're paying to go to the dentist to get them to clean your teeth. You go to the doctor, whatever. All of those things are services that are supplied by the producers of those services, and you pay for it. Okay. Nothing's free. As y'all get older, you'll realize that there's always some sort of bill you got to pay. Um, it's part of life, right? Okay. But that's kind of what you're getting at. So goods, physical objects, things that you can right there, take it out of the store, go buy some food, whatever. Okay, services, things that someone's doing for you, and they're usually going to charge you a fee of some sort for their services. All right, so basically what happens is because of this idea of scarcity, we have three main economic questions that kind of have to be answered. Okay, so there's three main questions. Okay, first one, what will be produced? Okay, um, first thing we look at, what's available. Think of the United States. Okay, we're pretty lucky. Picked a great spot on the map when they were first coming over here looking for gold, and then looking, to escape persecution and stuff. They didn't know we had all these great natural resources here in the United States. We have basically two giant borders of ocean that we can trade with other countries. We have, pretty much any natural resource you can think of. The main breadwinners, that being money, I mean, not money, oil, natural gas. We have iron ore deposits. We have coal. We have lumber. We have an educated workforce. We have schools. We have a ton of stuff. We have massive amounts of agriculture land all across the Midwest and the Great Plains. Ranch. Just all kinds of stuff. Okay, some countries don't have that. Like I said, we're lucky. They didn't know it was here when they were coming over here at first, and sure enough, it was here. So we got lucky. We took advantage of that luck, and that's how we became the most dominant economy, superpower in the world for the last 100 years. You also have trade agreements. We have a big one, between NAFTA, with NAFTA, which is Canada and Mexico. There was always talk of the trade war with China and how China is the emerging economy, and arguing with him back and forth. Also, most countries will allow the consumers and producers to decide. If you go to the store and buy something, you're gonna basically buy the things that you sorry, there we go. You're gonna basically buy the things that you like. So as you buy those products, you're telling the producer that this is what I like. So other producers are gonna see that. They're like, what's being sold the most? What are people liking the most? If you make an onion flavored popsicle, that's probably not gonna be, you know, the most bought popsicle during summer. Okay, that's gonna let them know that, yeah, guys, that was probably not a good idea. We probably shouldn't have made that flavor. We were kind of stupid on that one. Okay. So what we buy tells those producers what we want to sell. Okay. Some countries are what they need to make so we can buy it. Some countries, the government decides. This is more of your state-run economies, your sort of socialists, and then you get into the communist countries where the government's deciding what to be produced, what's the most efficient way, and things like that. So, all right. The next question is, how will it be produced? Again, companies are just going to find the most efficient way possible. Efficient, meaning the fastest, the quickest, cheapest, whatever is going to pad their wallet at the end of the day. So what we see a lot of times now is, outsourcing, um, companies sending jobs overseas. They're looking, to those overseas production sites because they can pay those workers a lot less. And by the time they get their product back over here, it's cost them less than if they made it in the United States, and they can sell it at the same price and make more money. Okay. If you're a business, that's just what you're going to do. You're in the business of making money, not making product for people. You're trying to make money. So that's what they're doing. And then the last one is, who are we producing these products for? Companies don't make products for everybody. They don't make, not all companies are making products that everybody can afford. Think of car manufacturers, something like Mercedes versus Honda. No offense if you like Honda or drive a Honda Civic, that's a car that everyone can afford, most people. Okay, a basic Honda Civic. Okay, whereas like a Mercedes, that's a select group of people that can afford that car payment. The $700, $800, $900 car payment a month. That's what some people pay for their house. Um, you know, then you're doing that for a car. So they know that. They know they're not producing it for everybody, but they're going after that target demographic. Like, who do they want to buy this product? Okay, so what to produce, how to produce it, and who are we producing it for? Those are the three main questions that economic questions that kind of have to be answered in order to deal with this problem of scarcity. Okay, so once we decide those, well, we got to figure out how we're going to make this stuff. Okay, so what we use is what we call the factors of production. Okay, so factors of production: land, labor, capital, which is broken down into physical and human, and then you have entrepreneurship. So the first one is land. Okay, land is pretty simple. It's just any natural resource out there, anything that's just here in the earth, on the earth, in the ground that we can use to produce products. Most goods start somewhere from some sort of natural resource. There's lots of things that go into it. Um, when you think about oil, oil is used in so many things. Not just energy, but it's used actually, in the products and things like that. Lots of plastics and things like that. So what's here? What's available? What do we have that can produce goods and services? So any sort of natural resource. Hey, labor, pretty simple here. Any of y'all that have a job, we need people to work. We need people at those jobs doing a task, getting paid, spending that money. But really, they're at that job. They're either producing goods or they're producing services, whatever it might be. And you're getting paid for it, which then you turn around and take that money you earn and you spend it somewhere else. That kind of keeps the economy rolling. Okay, so you got to have natural resources and we have to have labor. We have to have the people to do the work. We have to have those jobs there, regardless of what it is, producing good, producing a service, whatever it might be. Okay. The next one is capital. Okay, so when you hear capital, don't think of like capitals of a state. Think of it as a resource. So it's a human-made resource to help us produce goods and services. Okay, and we're going to break it down into what we call physical capital and human capital. Okay, so when you see capital, think of items and resources that we need to produce stuff. Okay, capital is things that we need to produce stuff. Okay, so physical capital. Physical capital is pretty simple. It's the items we need to help us do our job. Essentially, building a bank building. If you were going to go deposit $10,000 in the bank, would you want to walk up to a bank that looks like a lemonade stand? And you're like, well, here's my money, bud, and they put it in a Ziploc baggie, and they're like, all right, it's secure, we're good. No, you're going to want to go to a building. It looks like a building. They got a vault. You put your money in there. They put it in the vault. You're good. Okay. It gives you that. It helps us do our job. Okay. Something like a police car or fire engine. You got a fire in your house. Do you want the guys running up and down the street with a bucket of water? No, you want them to have the freaking truck there, blasting that water, putting that fire out. That helps them do their job. Okay, that's the physical capital. A mechanic's going to use tools to help them do your job. You got to change a flat tire. Well, you need some tools to do that. You can't change a flat tire with your bare hands. Okay, so the tools, the things we need to help us do our job, that's physical capital. Sitting there, like our school building, just sat empty all summer, okay, did nothing. Okay, but we used the building to help us have school. Okay, we don't want to sit outside right now. It's hot. I know we get that nice 2 weeks of fall where it's perfect temperatures and then it just gets cold. Okay, but we need that to help us do our job. Okay, but sitting here, the building itself can't do anything. The tools can't do anything. Okay, but we need them to help us do our job. Okay, that's physical capital. Okay, so the other side is what we call human capital. So this is something that you can't see, but this is knowing how to do your job. Okay, this is like going to the doctor. First thing why are you here? You go to the doctor. What are you here for? You tell them your symptoms, and then that doctor is going to sit there and use all that education and all that schooling that they've had to try and figure out what's wrong with you. Okay, they're going to come up with some sort of hypothesis. They're going to say, okay, I think it's this because I read this in a book somewhere, or I've seen this before. This is me knowing how to do my job. Okay. Now, they might use physical capital to help them complete that job. Like, hey, we need to get a chest x ray done. So, we're going to use that physical capital, the x ray machine, take an x ray of you, and then I'm going to have a radiologist look at it using their human capital and tell me what's wrong with you. Okay. So, human capital, knowing how to do your job. Okay. It's the act of knowing how to change a tire. Okay, not actually using the tools to change it, but knowing just how to do it. Then you're going to use physical capital to help you complete it. So that's why they kind of go together, but we do have to separate them. We do have to have physical and human, okay, because they do work together to help us complete our jobs, complete our tasks, okay? So physical capital, the things that kind of help you physically do the job. Human capital, knowing how to do the job, okay? But all of it is just capital, which is just the resource needed to do our job. Okay, to help us complete things and provide goods and services. Okay. All right. And then the last one here is what we call an entrepreneur. So this is a person that puts all of those together, your land, labor, capital, puts all of them together and creates a good or a service and sells it to people. Okay. Doesn't have to be somebody famous like these individuals. Anybody that owns a business that employs other people, provides goods or services, is an entrepreneur. It can be something as simple as like a taco truck. Okay. No. Did that person reinvent tacos? Absolutely not. Okay. Did they create the taco? No. But they are creating a new business, goods. They're selling it to people. Even though they're just selling tacos, it doesn't matter. It's their own personal spin on those tacos. So anybody that puts that stuff together, they're creating a new good, new service, new business. they are an entrepreneur. So that's kind of, our intro section here. And then I got a short little video you'll watch, and then we'll have some other stuff in classroom. Okay.